I never thought a simple job application would drag me into the heart of one of America's most influential families. But there I was, Anya Thompson, single mother to a bright-eyed 6-year-old named Ethan, standing on the marble steps of the Harrington estate just outside Washington, D.C. The mansion loomed like a fortress of old money and stricter values, its ivy-covered walls hiding secrets I couldn't yet imagine. My hand shook as I adjusted the collar of my new uniform, the black fabric stiff against my skin, a far cry from the worn scrubs I'd worn at the diner that barely kept us fed after my ex vanished 3 years ago. The agency had called it the opportunity of a lifetime. Live-in housekeeper for the Harringtons, room and board plus a salary that could finally pay for Ethan's speech therapy and maybe even a decent school. What they didn't mention was that stepping through those doors meant trading one kind of survival for another. The butler, an older man named Reginald with a face like weathered stone, led me inside without a smile. Mrs. Harrington expects perfection, Ms. Thompson. The family values discretion above all. I nodded, clutching my small suitcase, my mind already picturing Ethan settling into the staff quarters we'd been promised. The foyer smelled of lemon polish and old leather, chandeliers casting long shadows across portraits of stern ancestors in suits and pearls. Then she appeared at the top of the grand staircase. Leighton Harrington, the only daughter and heir apparent to the family's sprawling media and lobbying empire. She was 32. Tall and composed in a charcoal pantsuit that screamed boardroom battles. Her blonde hair pulled into a sleek chignon. Her blue eyes scanned me once, cool and assessing, as if weighing whether I was worth the air I breathed. "You're the new housekeeper," she said, voice clipped but not unkind. "My mother mentioned you'd be starting today. Ethan is your son? Make sure he stays out of the main house during events." I met her gaze, something electric flickering for a split second before she turned away. That was the first time I felt it, the pull I would later curse. The first week blurred into a rhythm of early mornings and late nights. I polished silver that cost more than my car, prepared meals for guests who discussed policy as casually as weather, and kept Ethan quiet in our small apartment above the garage. He loved the grounds, chasing squirrels while I scrubbed floors. Leighton was everywhere and nowhere, always on her phone barking orders about upcoming Senate hearings or crisis management for their latest client, a conservative senator facing scandal. One evening, as rain hammered the windows, I found her in the library after midnight, papers scattered like fallen leaves. She looked exhausted, tie loosened, a rare crack in her armor. "Can't sleep?" I asked softly, offering the tea I'd brewed for myself. She accepted it without thanks, but her fingers brushed mine. "The world doesn't stop for sleep, Anya." We talked then, just briefly, about nothing and everything. My late nights studying online for a business degree I could never finish. Her pressure to marry the right man to secure family alliances. She laughed once, a low sound that warmed the cold room. By the time I left, my heart was racing for reasons I couldn't name. Little did I know that small kindness was the first thread in a web that would tangle us both. Days turned to weeks, and the mansion's walls began to feel less like a prison and more like a stage where Leighton and I performed careful dances. She started seeking me out in quiet corners, asking about Ethan's drawings or sharing a frustrated sigh after another brutal strategy meeting. I learned she was the real power behind the Harrington name now, her father fading into retirement while she navigated the shark tank of DC politics and corporate deals. Her ambition was a living thing, sharp and unrelenting. Yet in those stolen moments she let it slip, revealing a woman who longed for something real. One afternoon, while I folded linens in the laundry room, she appeared unannounced. "You don't flinch when I snap at staff," she said, leaning against the doorframe. "Most people do." I shrugged, smiling despite myself. "I've faced worse than boardroom tempers." Our eyes held too long. Ethan called from the garden then, breaking the spell, but the air between us had shifted. That night, alone in my bed, I replayed her smile and wondered if I was imagining the spark. Survival had always been my only focus, but now, in this house of power and pretense, something dangerous was waking up. The first real crack in Leighton's armor came during a late summer storm that knocked out power across the estate. Candles flickered in the kitchen as I prepared a simple dinner for the family. Ethan tucked safely in bed upstairs. Leighton wandered in, hair damp from the rain, looking more human than I'd ever seen her. "Generators are down," she muttered, grabbing a bottle of wine from the rack. We ended up at the counter, sharing silence until she spoke. My father wants me engaged by Christmas. Some lobbyist's son who'll smile for cameras and stay out of my way. Her voice carried bitterness I'd never heard. I poured her a glass, our hands brushing again, deliberate this time. What do you want, Leighton? The question hung heavy. She looked at me then, really looked, and for the first time I saw vulnerability beneath the heiress facade. Something that doesn't feel like a transaction. From that night, our conversations grew bolder. She'd text me at odd hours from her office in the city. Simple things like long day. Tea ready. I'd leave a thermos by her door, and sometimes she'd appear in the hallway afterward, whispering about the latest deal that could make or break her run for a congressional seat. The family was conservative to its core. Her mother, Eleanor, hosted prayer breakfasts for senators, and her brother Marcus pushed traditional values in every interview. Coming out wasn't an option, Leighton said once, her jaw tight. It would burn everything I've built. Yet she kept coming back to me. Our stolen talks turning into shared laughs over Ethan's silly jokes when he sneaked into the kitchen. One crisp October evening, after a grueling fundraiser, she found me in the garden pruning roses. Walk with me, she said. We wandered the paths under moonlight, the air thick with unspoken words. When she stopped and turned to me, her hand reached out. Anya, whatever this is, it scares me. I didn't pull away. It scares me too. That was the moment the line blurred forever. Our secret blossomed quietly, carefully. Late nights in the library became our sanctuary, where she'd kick off her heels and I'd listen as she dissected boardroom betrayals. She was brilliant, ruthless when needed, but with me she softened, tracing patterns on my palm while we talked about dreams we'd buried. Ethan adored her from afar, calling her Miss Leighton, and drawing pictures of the big house. I knew the risks. One wrong glance at a family dinner could unravel my job, his stability, her entire future. But love doesn't ask permission. The first time she kissed me was in the pantry during a chaotic holiday prep, quick and desperate, tasting of coffee and fear. I shouldn't, she whispered against my lips. But I can't stop. I pulled her closer, heart pounding with equal parts joy and dread. In that competitive world of hers, where allies became enemies overnight and scandals were currency, our connection felt like the only real thing. Yet every stolen touch carried the weight of what it could cost us both. As winter approached, the pressure mounted. Leighton faced a hostile takeover attempt from a rival firm, her father demanding she project the perfect family image at every event. I'd catch her staring at me across rooms during parties, eyes full of longing she masked with professional nods. One night, after she'd won a key vote in a closed-door meeting, she slipped into my quarters. Just for a minute, she said, collapsing onto the couch. We held each other in silence, her head on my shoulder, Ethan sleeping soundly in the next room. You're the only one who sees me, Anya. Not the heiress. Me. Her words wrapped around my heart like chains I welcomed. But the next morning, she was back to ice, barking orders to staff and ignoring me in the hallway. It was her survival mode, I told myself. The cause and effect were clear. Love made her human, but humanity was a liability in her world. Still, I couldn't walk away. Not yet. Christmas lights twinkled across the estate like false promises, and the Harrington family threw their annual gala. A spectacle of power dressed as charity. I worked the event in the shadows, serving canapes while senators and CEOs mingled. Leighton shone in a deep red gown, laughing at the right jokes, her hand resting lightly on the arm of a suitable bachelor for the cameras. Our eyes met once across the ballroom, a silent promise amid the noise. Later, when guests thinned, she pulled me into an empty study. I hated every second of that, she confessed, fingers intertwining with mine. Pretending when all I want is this. The kiss that followed was deeper, filled with the frustration of months of hiding. We talked until dawn about the impossible. Her running for office as the face of conservative values while loving a woman like me. One slip and the donors vanish, she said, voice cracking. My mother would disown me before breakfast. The new year brought harsher realities. Ethan's school recommended extra therapy I could barely afford until Leighton quietly covered it, a gesture that made my love for her ache even more. But her ambition clashed harder with us. During a tense strategy session I overheard from the hallway, She coldly dismissed a staffer for a minor leak, her tone the same steel she used to protect her image. Later, when I asked if she ever worried about becoming like them, she snapped, "This is how you survive, Anya. Softness gets you crushed." The word stung, a reminder that our worlds were colliding in ways that hurt. Yet nights later she'd apologize with soft touches and whispered plans for a future where maybe, someday, we wouldn't hide. The internal war tore at her, love pulling her toward honesty, power demanding she stay hidden. I saw the toll in her tired eyes after every late meeting. Rivals started circling. A tabloid journalist, tipped by someone inside the firm, began sniffing around the estate. Leighton grew distant for days, canceling our meetings with curt texts about damage control. I confronted her in the garage one rainy afternoon. "Is this how it ends? You choosing the empire over us?" She pulled me close, rain dripping from her coat. "I'm trying to protect you both. If they find out, Ethan loses his home. I lose everything I've fought for." Her logic was flawless, 'cause leading to inevitable effect. Exposure meant ruin. But my heart refused the math. We reconciled in the quiet, promises renewed. Yet the seed of doubt was planted. Leighton was capable of cold calculations that scared me, decisions where love became collateral. Still, in our private world she was mine, and that was enough to keep me fighting. Spring arrived with new threats. Leighton secured a major contract that required her to attend a family retreat. No outsiders allowed. I stayed behind, managing the house, but the separation gnawed at us. When she returned, something had shifted. She was harder, more focused, yet her touches carried urgency. "I missed you more than I should," she admitted one night in the library, her head in my lap. We talked for hours about what ifs. What if she walked away from it all? But reality crashed back with her father's call demanding she host a donor dinner. The cycle continued, love fueling her strength while ambition tested its limits. I began to see the pattern clearly. Every step forward in her career pulled her a little farther from the woman who held me at night. The tension built like a storm I knew would break us if we weren't careful. The rival firm struck hard in May, leaking rumors of internal discord to undermine Leighton's latest deal. She spent weeks in damage control mode, her days a blur of meetings and her nights filled with restless pacing. I became her anchor, sneaking coffee and quiet words when no one watched. "They're coming for me," she said one evening, voice low in the pantry. "If they dig deep enough." She didn't finish, but I knew. Our secret was the ultimate weapon against her. Marcus, her brother, started watching me too closely at meals, his conservative lectures laced with suspicion. Eleanor praised my work but warned about outsiders learning family ways. The pressure was suffocating, yet Leighton and I held on, our stolen moments more precious for their rarity. Then came the cold decision I feared most. After a brutal board vote where she narrowly won control, Leighton distanced herself for 2 full weeks. No texts, no late visits, just polite nods in the halls. I confronted her in the garden at dusk, heartbreaking. "You're choosing them." She looked away, jaw set. "I have to, Anya. One more scandal and the empire crumbles. Ethan needs stability. I need this to work." Her words were logical, the cause of survival demanding the effect of sacrifice. Pain ripped through me, but I understood the game. In her world, love was a weakness to be managed. We argued in whispers, tears mixing with accusations, until she pulled me into a fierce embrace. "It's temporary, I swear." The reconciliation was bittersweet, her ambition a shadow that never fully left. Summer brought a fragile peace. Ethan turned 7, and Leighton surprised us with a small cake in the staff kitchen when the family was away. For one afternoon we felt like a family. Laughter, games on the lawn, her guard completely down. "This is what I want," she whispered as we watched him play. But Monday brought another crisis, a key senator threatening to pull support unless she publicly endorsed his anti-LGBT stance. She did it, voice steady on camera, while I watched from the shadows, stomach twisting. The betrayal wasn't intentional, but the effect was real. Every public word drove a wedge deeper. Our fights grew sharper, her cold calculations clashing with my need for honesty. Yet the love remained fierce and undeniable, pulling us back every time. By late summer, cracks showed in the family too. Her father suffered a minor stroke, thrusting Leighton fully into the spotlight as the new face of the empire. Rivals whispered louder, and I felt eyes on me constantly. One night, after she'd returned from the hospital, she broke down in my arms. "I can't lose you, but I can't lose this either." The internal conflict raged, every choice carrying irreversible loss. I held her, knowing our story was barreling toward a breaking point where logic would demand a final decision. The cause was clear: power and love could not coexist. The annual family summit in September was meant to be routine. Donors, relatives, and key allies gathered for a formal dinner to solidify Leighton's leadership. The dining hall glittered with crystal and silver, laughter masking the undercurrents of deals and debts. I served quietly, heart heavy from our latest argument about coming clean. Leighton was radiant in her role, toasting to tradition and strength, but her eyes found mine across the room with quiet desperation. Midway through the main course, her father raised a shaky glass, praising her sacrifices. The room applauded. Then a minor spill happened near her seat, and in the chaos of reaching for a napkin, her hand instinctively found mine under the table for balance, fingers lacing tight in a gesture born of years of secret comfort. Time froze. The entire table saw it. Eleanor gasped. Marcus dropped his fork. Donors stared in stunned silence. Leighton didn't pull away immediately, her grip tightening as if realizing too late what she'd done. "Leighton," her mother whispered, voice sharp as glass. The accidental touch lingered a second too long before she released me, but the damage was instant. Whispers erupted. "What is this?" her father demanded, face paling. I stood rooted, tray trembling, Ethan's future flashing before my eyes. Leighton rose slowly, composure cracking for the first time in public. "It's exactly what it looks like," she said, voice steady despite the storm. The room exploded into outrage, chairs scraping, accusations flying. The secret we'd guarded so fiercely shattered in one careless moment. Every consequence we'd feared crashing down at once. Chaos followed. Security escorted me out while Leighton faced her family alone, her cold mask slipping as she defended what we had. I waited in the staff quarters, Ethan clinging to me, as shouts echoed through the halls. Hours later, Leighton appeared at my door, eyes red but jaw set. "It's over. The deal with Senator Klein is dead. Donors are pulling out." Her words were matter of fact, the logic of cause and effect playing out exactly as she'd predicted. Yet beneath the ice, pain flickered. The family demanded I leave by morning, branding me the destroyer of their legacy. Leighton didn't stop them. In that moment, I saw the full weight of her world. Survival meant choosing the empire, even if it meant losing me. The next days blurred into accusations and ultimatums. Marcus threatened legal action over moral corruption. Eleanor cut off all contact. Leighton fought quietly behind scenes, securing my severance and a reference, but the distance grew. "I warned you," she said one final night in the garden, voice breaking. "This is what it costs." Our last kiss tasted of goodbye, her ambition winning the battle it had always been fighting. I packed our things, Ethan asking why Miss Leighton wasn't coming, my heart in pieces from the irreversible losses we'd both caused. Weeks after the scandal broke, the Harrington empire reeled but didn't fall. Leighton issued a carefully worded statement about personal growth, spinning the narrative just enough to retain core allies while quietly distancing from the hardest-line conservatives. I found a new apartment in the city with the payout she'd arranged, Ethan starting a new school where no one knew our story. News cycles moved on, but the damage lingered in quiet ways. Her brother took over key accounts, her mother refused calls, and Leighton's once unstoppable rise slowed to careful steps. I watched from afar, heart aching as she navigated interviews with the same steel that had cost us everything. We met once more by accident, at a neutral cafe months later. She looked thinner, eyes haunted by choices that still haunted me. "I miss you every day," she admitted, hand hovering near mine but never touching. But the board demanded proof I was back on track. One more slip and they vote me out. Her logic remained flawless, the cause of exposure leading to the effect of calculated retreat. I wanted to hate her for the cold decisions that protected her world at the expense of ours, but love doesn't die on command. "Was it worth it?" I asked. She didn't answer, just stood and left, the weight of survival heavier than ever. Ethan thrived despite everything, his drawings now including a big house he once called home. I finished my degree online, landing a better job, proving survival didn't require empires. Leighton rose again, Her power intact but her eyes carrying shadows no camera caught. The scandal faded yet its lessons remained. In a world of ruthless ambition, love demands a price few can pay without breaking. True or false? In the end, choosing ambition over love was the only way Leighton could truly survive?